In high school, I think is when I started participating in my journey to anti-racism. So I remember in the 10th grade getting a talk basically after Trump was elected, basically getting a talk of how the atmosphere was and how we felt as students, especially being a minority-based school within the city of Watts. I met two amazing teachers, one English and one history teacher that went beyond the curriculum and taught us about things as far as John Lewis, transcendentalism, our civil rights, our societal niches such as Little Tokyo, that the people, how they were petrified and put into these places and placed into these niches. And basically my teacher posed the question, basically what's injustice? From there, we took on the torch and basically identified issues within our community. And at the time, one of the biggest issues I saw was mental health in the state of the Black community, but primarily in my community, which made up of Carson, Compton, and a little bit of LA. So at the time, me and three other students, we band together and created a project we referred as the Phoenix Project. And basically it was to transform and uplift youth, primarily high schoolers, and their mental health practices and how they thought and how they were able to cope with our current situation as the political and racial climate changed within our nation. So we were fortunate enough to team up with CDU students, Charles Drew University students, and basically devise a plan on how to collect research within our neighborhood. That in itself showed me how much power as a youth you have within your voice and things that you believe in, that you can tackle the problem that's beforehand. And just going back to those teachings made me realize that my journey to anti-racism started there, but it doesn't always have to deal with race, but it can deal with an aspect of race that you might want to target and attack. My talk came differently. I didn't have a formal talk per se. I would say the first talk I actually had was from my 10th grade chemistry teacher, in which I turned in I turned in my science fair project late. And I didn't realize how big of a deal that was, especially to her. For the span of my period, so I say, basically we had to talk for an hour in between classes. She didn't care about her current class or whatnot, but she was basically telling me, as a Black male in America, I don't have time to turn in things late. I don't have time to come second or whatnot. I must present my material or anything I have in life to give in a timely fashion. And that's when I kind of realized that most of my teachers I had at the current time were scared or even frightened about me being outside of the school walls as far as what could possibly happen to me. But after that talk, it opened up a new lens for me as far as not only seeing the struggle of being an African-American male within this country, but also the struggles of how women may face, or basically intersexuality in its whole, because we're not the only marginalized group. But for me, I felt like it was more of a push start in what I can start doing at my age and how I can start attacking the problem in a sense, and what I can do right now instead of waiting on somebody else to do for me. But I would say that it gives me hope in a sense of people awakening up, basically realizing and not staying quiet. It gives me hope that the younger generation, as far as like even watching protest videos and whatnot, that they're more aware of the situation and within the climate. But at the same time, I don't want it to create hate. I would say you have to meet everybody and get a sense of what they're for, their values and whatnot, because everything, there's an ethical reason for everything. And injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. I mean, you know right from wrong, and you have a gut feeling when you're doing something wrong and you're doing something right, as we seen in the protests, because you realize that it's just not one person's fight, but it might be your fight, because everything links everybody in a different way. And when you see more similarities than differences, you'll realize that, and more of your responsibility or your civil responsibility in order to take a foot forward and basically participate within these demonstrations or whatnot, and actually go for the fight instead of sitting back. And when you figure out your purpose, or not even your purpose, or something you're passionate about, you'll go the extra mile for it. So like I broke down earlier, anti-racism doesn't have to deal directly with race, but it can deal with an aspect linking to race. If you listen to rap, different artists, it's in their music. They've been having these conversations throughout the years. If you follow these trends, it's in our history books, within our music, within our culture. It's a cycle that's keep on repeating. Slowly and slowly is getting chipped away at, I would say. But not in the near future. I think these talks are kind of necessary, and it's kind of a refresher to bring you down, basically remind you of what reality is versus La La Land, in a sense, because a lot of people get caught up within this artificial world and they don't realize what's actually going on, what threats are presented. How I see me participating in a change is putting my foot into doors to open up opportunities for other minority groups, especially within the STEM field. Right now, I'm currently working with MSI, Male Success Initiative on campus, and also NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers. And during my time within those programs, I'm gathering resources in different ways to help high schoolers, primarily student athletes who are struggling in math and Englishes, to improve their testing scores and also their reading levels. So when they make the transition into college, it's easier for them to go into fields of STEM if they so choose. We have a lot of negative connotations within our society on how we perceive people or even describe people due to past events, as far as the war in Vietnam, 9/11, or various different incidents. If you take these ideas and keep on putting a tag or a false storyline of how you perceive people, you won't be able to be open to change and actually accept people. Like, for example, gang members have a negative connotation or, a negative presence in itself. Me personally, I've been around various groups who are gang affiliated, and they're just normal people like us. They have lives like us, live day to day. But you won't know that unless you take that leap of faith to get to know somebody and actually talk and find common ground and things that you guys both believe in. You don't have to believe in everything the same way as somebody else, but when you start making those connections and having those conversations with different people, you'll realize more of the similarities than the differences. And I think that will help us come together as a whole in this fight to anti-racism.